The greatest thing I've ever done and the hardest thing I ever survived are the same thing. Raising my children as a single mother. For years, that title, single mom, was the first thing people learned about me, the thing they knew about me, and eventually the first thing I viewed about myself. I did not realize it at the time, but I had let one role swallow every other part of who I was. This talk isn't about motherhood. It's about how easy it is to erase every part of you because you allow one part of you, even the part you love, take over. When I was a little girl, my younger brother and I used to talk about our futures. What kind of jobs we'd have, how our family lives would look, who we'd be. He always knew he'd be a father. He always wanted children. Me, I was perfectly content being the rich auntie. I pictured vacations, career milestones, adventures, not diaper duty. Even as a teenager, up until a young adult, having children was never high on my priority list. Come to find out, I wasn't alone. In February of 2024, Pew Research Center recognized that young adults without children, so a little bit over half of a college campus of both undergraduate and adult learners, where 52% stated, yes, I would like to be a parent. 30% stated they were unsure, and 18% said not at all. 42% of young women said, yes, I would love to be a mom, compared to 57% of young men who wanted to be fathers. For me, having children was not that dream. Marriage was. In my mind, marriage was a partnership. Family was a partnership. Someone to laugh with, someone to travel with, someone to retire with. I can imagine myself with my man on my front porch, sitting in the rocking chair, drinking a fresh cup of coffee. So, in 2012, on my 24th birthday, I stood in a white dress and blue heels and said I do. For the first time, I actually considered becoming a mom because I just knew I was going to do it with a partner. And I was already a bonus mom to a 9-year-old boy. But I had no idea that my dream would change so quickly. But life didn't stop. I still had to become this person I wasn't ready for. Less than 5.5 years later, I found myself a single mother of 2. No time to recover, no grace period to figure it out. I carried 2 things with me, my children and shame. Shame of a failed marriage. Shame that had become a statistic that people wouldn't know or judge me about because they didn't know my story. Shame that I was not able to achieve the dream of this idyllic life. But life didn't stop. I still had to be mommy. I still had to be chauffeur, cook, referee, nurse. And if you've ever been a single parent, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, even if you come from one. I played every part except the part where I was just me. Something I found interesting. In 2024, the Task Force on Maternal Mental Health recognized that young adults with maternal mortality rates was increasing and becoming a priority issue in the United States. It estimated that 20% of perinatal maternal deaths were caused by suicide. This was more than postpartum hemorrhaging or hypertensive disorders. I remember sitting on my bed one sunny afternoon. Both of my children were under the ages of 4. I was mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted. I was overworked and underpaid on a teacher's salary. And my body was still fighting this complication from my childbirths. You see, from 2014 to 2020, I had 10 major surgeries. And I was still having to take care of my children with little to no help. I had gotten to a point where I was done. I was done hoping, I was done wishing, and I was done failing. So as I sat there, I thought to myself, I can't do this. I'm not a good parent. This is not for me. Those children, they can be raised by their dad. And then I thought to myself, with the darkest moment ever, it would just be easier if I just wasn't here anymore. Then the door creaked open. My toddler son, with his head leading the way, came over to me, and I looked down as he placed his small, chubby hand on my thigh, and he simply smiled at me and said, "It's okay, Mommy." It was in that moment that I realized if my toddler son can recognize that it will be okay, then surely I can have the faith in trusting this process. Today, I challenge you, as you navigate your own journeys, to trust your process. I discovered 3 foundational steps in trusting this process. First, trusting the process starts with accepting that the transition is necessary. Acceptance before action, even if it's uncomfortable. For parents, that might mean acknowledging that parenthood, you got lost in your identity, but deciding to make space for you again. You can't keep forcing the outdated versions of yourself. It has already unfolded. Sometimes you get lost and so busy trying to prove how strong you are, how capable you are, how you are enough that you are missing the actual life that you are building. So, release the perfect script. Trusting the process means loosening that grip of how you think that role should be. Every time I tried to tell myself what I thought parenthood should look like, life humbled me. Oh boy, did it. But when I realized to stop leading in control and start leading with trust, then I stopped being consumed into the failure and the shame of being a single mother. It wasn't easy. It was messy. It was slow. But it gave me permission to stop fighting against reality and start growing in it. Not too long ago, I had a talk with my best friend. And I told her, I said, I think I might like this motherhood thing. I actually enjoy my children. And girl, I'm actually missing them when they're gone. Now, we laughed, right? Of course we did. But later on, I realized it was the first time that I saw motherhood and felt motherhood as joy, not as pressure. I hadn't lost my identity in motherhood itself. I lost it because I thought I couldn't be anything other than a mother. Which brings me to my next point. You have to anchor yourself in a bigger identity. People who anchor themselves in their values and in their truths, it makes a world of difference. I am a single mother, but I am also a whole woman. Okay. And so it's important to realize and remember who you were before the role. Single mom, yes, but educator, leader, friend, dreamer, a woman that has a dream that doesn't involve a lunchbox, 2 car seats, and sitting in my bonnet all weekend. Which brings me to my last point. Have faith in the not yet. Trusting in the process means believing that the full picture will make sense later, even when right now it feels incomplete. You can be fully committed in your role, whether that's parent, entrepreneur, leader, professional, speaker, without erasing the other parts of your identity. So I ask you, what is the big role that you are allowing to forget who you are? What is it going to take for you to trust the process in accepting the transitioning, anchoring yourself in your bigger identity, and accepting the faith in the not yet? Not because it doesn't matter, but because you matter too. So remember, you are more than just one single story, because starting to live in your truth becomes your whole life. And this, no matter the roles I've ever had, what nearly broke me is what saved me. Thank you.